I want to start with a name. My name. Not the name I was given at birth, that name belongs to the story too, and I will tell you about it. But the name that is on the building. The name on the glass door at the entrance of a 12-story office complex in downtown Denver, Colorado, that I pass every single morning when I walk in. The name that my stepfather saw for the first time on a Thursday afternoon in April 3 years ago when he walked into that building looking for a meeting that had been scheduled by his company's board of directors with the firm that now occupies the top 4 floors. My firm. He did not know it was my firm when he walked in. He found out at the reception desk when the woman behind it said, "Good afternoon. Do you have an appointment with Ms. Carter?" And he said yes. And she said, "I will let her know you are here. May I ask your name?" And he gave his name. And the receptionist picked up the phone and said, "Ms. Carter, your 3 o'clock is here. A Mr. Douglas Webb. My stepfather. The man who had spent 15 years of my childhood telling me I would never amount to anything. Standing in the lobby of my building. Waiting for a meeting with me. What happened when I walked out of my office and saw him standing there? What I said. What he said. And what we both understood in that lobby that neither of us had been able to say in 15 years of him being my stepfather, is the story I am going to tell you today. But I cannot start there. I have to start at the beginning. Because the beginning is the only way to understand what the name on the building means. If you are new here, please subscribe right now and drop your country and local time in the comments. I read every single one. Now let me take you all the way back. My name is Rachel Carter. I am 42 years old. I grew up in a small city in rural Colorado, Grand Junction, if you know it, a city at the edge of the western slope that is defined by the specific, hardworking, no-nonsense character of a place where people build things with their hands and expect the same quality of effort from everyone around them. My mother's name is Linda. She is 68 years old now, and she is the foundation of everything I am in the way that certain mothers are foundations, not through grand gestures or specific lessons but through the specific, daily evidence of a woman who worked and showed up and loved without requiring anything from you except that you do the same. My biological father left when I was 4. I have almost no memory of him. He exists in my history as an absence rather than a presence, a specific shape of missing that I stopped grieving somewhere around age 10 and converted instead into a motivating clarity about the kind of people I did and did not want in my life. My mother married Douglas Webb when I was 7 years old. I want to tell you about Douglas Webb. Not to condemn him. I have spent a great deal of time not condemning Douglas Webb, and I am not going to start now. But to describe him accurately, because accuracy is the foundation of everything I am telling you and I am not willing to sacrifice it for simplicity. Douglas was a foreman at a construction company in Grand Junction. He was a large man, physically large, in the way of someone who has worked with his body for decades. He was not educated beyond high school. He was not wealthy. He was not particularly warm or particularly cold. He was the specific, contained temperature of a man who has decided how the world works and has organized himself accordingly. He loved my mother. I believe this now, and I believed it then, even in the years when his presence in my life was the most difficult thing I was managing. His love for her was genuine if not always graceful. What he was not, was equipped to be the stepfather of a child who was the specific kind of child I was. I was a child who read too much and thought too much and asked questions that made adults uncomfortable and who had, from a very early age, a specific, burning certainty about what I was going to do with my life that I expressed without the social calibration that might have made it easier for the adults around me to receive. I was going to build something. I said this often to Douglas, who worked in construction and understood building in the literal sense and who heard my version of it, business, finance, something larger than what Grand Junction contained, and heard in it a criticism of what he had built and what he was. He was wrong about that. I was not criticizing him. I was simply being very loudly myself in a house where being very loudly myself was not comfortable. But he heard it as criticism. And he responded to what he heard. The specific things Douglas said over 15 years. I want to be precise about this because the specificity matters. The general claim that a step-parent was discouraging is too easy to dismiss. The specific things are harder to dismiss. He said, when I was 9 years old and had told my mother I wanted to go to college, college is not for everyone, Rachel. Some people are better off learning a trade. He said it to my mother. Not to me. But in a room where I was present. He said, when I was 12 and had won a regional academic competition, it is good to win things at school. Real life is different. He said, when I was 14 and had told him I wanted to study business. Right. You know how many people go to business school and end up managing a fast food restaurant? He said, when I was 16 and had received a letter of academic commendation from my high school, a piece of paper does not mean anything. Results mean something. He said, when I was 17 and had been offered a partial scholarship to the University of Colorado, partial scholarship. So you still need money you do not have. Practical, Rachel. He said, when I was 18 and leaving for college, I hope you know what you are doing. Not warmly. Not with the specific, loving concern of someone who hopes for the best while acknowledging the difficulty. With the specific, flat certainty of someone who has decided on an outcome and is communicating their certainty so that when the outcome arrives you understand they had told you so. He said these things over 15 years. Each one landed in a specific place. Not a place that stopped me. I want to be clear about that. I am not a person who was stopped by discouragement. I am a person who was fueled by it in the way that certain kinds of people are fueled by the things that are meant to extinguish them. But they landed. And they built something in me alongside everything else that was building. A very specific, very patient determination. To show him. Not to prove something to him for his benefit. For mine. Because the specific kind of showing I was building toward was not about his acknowledgement, it was about the evidence that I had been right about myself when he was telling me I was wrong. I wanted to be right. I intended to be right. And I was going to build the evidence until it was undeniable. I left Grand Junction at 18 and I did not come back except for holidays and my mother's significant events for 14 years. Not because I was running away. Because I was running towards something and the something was not in Grand Junction. University of Colorado in Boulder. Business administration. I worked 2 part-time jobs to cover what the partial scholarship did not cover and I graduated in 4 years with a GPA that got me into a master's program at the University of Denver's Business School and a reputation among my professors that preceded me into every professional context I entered after. I graduated with my MBA at 24. I took a position at a private equity firm in Denver. Not a large firm, a boutique operation run by a woman named Patricia Chen who had been building it for 15 years and who had, in the specific way of people who recognize something in you that you are still in the process of recognizing in yourself, seen something in my interview that she decided was worth investing in. Patricia was the first professional mentor I had who was not also trying to manage my expectations downward. She told me I was good at the work. Specifically. Not in the general, encouraging way of someone managing morale. In the specific, precise way of someone who has been doing this for 15 years and knows what good looks like when it walks through the door. I was good at the work. I worked for Patricia for 4 years. I learned everything she was willing to teach and several things she did not know she was teaching. I understood, by the end of year 4, that I had absorbed what this firm had to offer me and that the next step was somewhere outside it. I told Patricia I was thinking about starting my own firm. She said, I know. I have been watching you figure that out for 2 years. What do you need from me to do it? I said, I need you to be my first investor. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, how much? I told her. She said, done. I started Carter Capital Partners in a 2-room office in a building in Lodo, Denver with Patricia's investment and 2 additional investors I had cultivated over 4 years at the boutique firm. I had 1 employee, a woman named Marie who had been my analyst at the boutique and who I had hired away because she was the best person I had worked with and I was not going to build something significant without her. The first 2 years were the years that either make something or end it. I want to tell you about them specifically because I think the specificity is what people need to hear when they are in the middle of their own version of those 2 years. Year 1 revenue, insufficient. Not catastrophically insufficient, we made payroll, we maintained the investors, we executed 3 transactions. But insufficient in the sense that the margin was thinner than it needed to be for the firm to feel stable. Year 1 lesson, the difference between managing someone else's deals and managing your own is not a difference in skill. It is a difference in risk. When it is your name and your investors and your reputation on every decision, the weight of it is different. I had to learn to work inside that weight without being crushed by it. Year 2 revenue, better. Not dramatically better, the firm was still small, still building its track record. But the trajectory was visible and the investors could see the trajectory and the market was beginning to know the name Carter Capital in the specific way that markets know names when the work is consistently good. Year 2 lesson, reputation is built one transaction at a time. There are no shortcuts. There are no moments when the work is too small to do carefully. Every deal is the resume. Year 3, the firm turned a corner. Not a dramatic corner. A quiet one. The kind that you only recognize in retrospect, looking back from year 4 or 5 and understanding that something in year 3 was the moment the thing became inevitable. By year 5 Carter Capital Partners had 14 employees, a portfolio that justified the name on the door, and a reputation in the Colorado commercial real estate and private equity community that I was proud of in the specific way that only the people who built the thing from the floor up are proud of it. I moved into the building in year 6. The 12-story building in downtown Denver. My name on the glass. Rachel Carter. Carter Capital Partners. I did not think about my stepfather when I signed the lease on those 4 floors. I want to be honest about that because the story of what happened with Douglas is not a story about revenge. It never was. I was not building toward the moment of showing him. I was building toward the thing itself, the firm, the work, the specific evidence that I had been right about myself, and Douglas Webb was one of the voices I had carried for 25 years that had helped clarify the building. Not the reason. A voice among many. I thought about him occasionally. The way you think about the people who doubted you when they cross your mind, not with active anger, but with the specific, present awareness of something that shaped you and that you have not fully finished processing. I thought about him when the scholarship letter came at 17. When I walked into Patricia's office for the first time. When I signed the lease on the first 2-room office in Lodo. And then I stopped thinking about him in any deliberate way. The building was there to build and I built it and Douglas Webb was in Grand Junction and we had not spoken in 4 years. Then his company's board of directors scheduled a meeting with Carter Capital Partners. His company, a mid-sized construction and development firm based in Grand Junction that had been expanding into the Denver market, had been introduced to us by a mutual connection who had not known the full shape of the relationship between me and Douglas Webb. My assistant scheduled the meeting. She did not know. I did not know until the morning of the meeting when I reviewed the attendee list and saw his name. Douglas Webb. President and CEO. Webb Construction and Development. I sat with that for a long time. Then I went into my scheduled meetings for the morning and I did not think about it again until 3 o'clock. I want to tell you about the moment I walked out of my office. Not for drama. Because the moment itself contained everything. I walked through the door from the inner offices into the reception area. Douglas was standing near the reception desk. He was 63 years old. Larger than I remembered in the specific way that memory tends to minimize people over time. Gray now in his hair and his beard. In a suit that was good but not his natural territory, he was more comfortable in the specific clothing of a construction site than in a conference room and the suit communicated this. He was looking at the wall where the firm's name and logo were displayed. Carter Capital Partners. He had not yet seen me. I stopped for a moment. 25 years of specific things collapsed into that moment. College is not for everyone. Real life is different. How many people end up managing a fast food restaurant? A piece of paper does not mean anything. I hope you know what you are doing. And then he turned. He saw me. His face did something I had not seen it do before. Not guilt. Douglas Webb was not a man given to visible guilt. Not shock exactly, though there was shock. Something more fundamental than either. The specific expression of someone who has just understood that the framework through which they have been seeing something was wrong. Not partly wrong. Foundationally wrong. He was looking at me. At the name on the wall behind me. At the reception desk and the employees and the specific, assembled evidence of Carter Capital Partners. He said my name. Not Miss Carter. My name. Rachel. I said, Douglas. We looked at each other. The receptionist was very professionally not watching. I said, why don't we go into the conference room? The meeting was not what his board had sent him for. That meeting happened. The business was discussed. My team presented what we had prepared. Douglas's team responded. The preliminary discussion of whether a partnership made sense was had with complete professionalism on both sides. But at the end of it, after his team had been walked to the elevator by my associate and Douglas had lingered in the conference room in the specific way of someone who has something they need to say before they can leave, we had a different conversation. He sat across from me in the conference room. He looked at the table for a long time. Then he said, I did not know. I know, I said. I did not know this was your firm. I know. He looked up. If I had known, he said, and then he stopped. What? I said. I do not know what, he said honestly. I do not know if I would have come. Or come differently. Or. He stopped again. Douglas, I said. What do you want to say? He looked at me for a long moment. I was wrong about you, he said. I said things when you were growing up that I should not have said. I thought I was being realistic. I thought I was protecting you from disappointment. I thought. He stopped. I was wrong, he said. That is all. I was wrong. I held that. Not performing the holding. Actually holding it. Letting it be what it was. Yes, I said. You were. I am sorry, he said. The conference room was very quiet. I know, I said. I believe you. He looked at the table. Your mother is proud of you, he said. She has always been proud of you. I want you to know I have heard it. Every time she talks about you. Every year. Everything you have built. I know she is, I said. She tells me. She told me I should have told you, he said. That I should have said it. That you deserve to hear it from me. I looked at him. She was right, I said. She usually is, he said quietly. Something shifted in the room. Not dramatically. The specific, quiet shift of something that has been held under tension for a very long time and has found, at last, a release that is insufficient and necessary at the same time. Douglas, I said. I built this because I needed to. Not to show you. Not to prove anything to anyone. Because this is what I am. This is what I was always going to be. He looked at me. I know that now, he said. I knew it then, I said. At 9 years old. At 12. At 17. I knew it. I know, he said. I could not see it. I was looking at you through something that was not about you. I held that too. What was it about? I said. He was quiet for a long time. Me, he said. It was about me. About what I had built and what I had not built and what I was afraid your building was going to say about mine. The honesty of it landed in the room like something physical. Your building is real, I said. What you built in Grand Junction is real. A construction company that has been operating for 30 years is not nothing, Douglas. It is something. You built something. He looked at me. So did you, he said. So did I said. The business relationship between Carter Capital and Webb Construction did not move forward. Not because of what happened in the conference room, the preliminary discussion simply did not produce the right fit. These things happen. It was a professional conclusion with no personal weight attached to it. But something else happened. My mother called me 2 weeks after that Thursday meeting. She said, "Douglas told me about the meeting." I said, "I know. He said you were," he could not find the word. He kept trying different words and none of them were right. I said, "What words did he try?" She said, "Impressive. Extraordinary. Formidable." He said none of them were big enough. I was quiet for a moment. "He said something else," she said. "He said he was sorry. To me. For the things he said when you were growing up. He said he understood now that he had been wrong and that he was sorry he had not understood it sooner." I held the phone. "How did you respond?" I said. "I told him it was about time," she said. I laughed. The real kind. The kind that arrives when something has been heavy for a very long time and something about the present moment is suddenly, unexpectedly lighter. "That sounds like you," I said. "It was the truth," she said. "It was," I said. She was quiet for a moment. "Rachel," she said. "Yes." "I have always known," she said. "From the time you were 9 years old and you told me you were going to build something. I have always known. I want you to know that I knew." I said, "I know, Mom. I have always known that you knew." "Good," she said. "I wanted to make sure." It has been 3 years since that Thursday meeting. Douglas and I have a relationship that is different from anything we had in the 15 years of him being my stepfather. Not close, we have not built close. But real. He came to Denver for a construction conference last year and we had dinner. He asked real questions about the firm. He listened to the answers without the specific, managed expression of someone who has already decided what they think. He is trying to see me clearly. I am letting him try. My mother is still the foundation. She turned 68 last spring. I flew to Grand Junction for her birthday. We sat in the kitchen of the house where I grew up, the house where Douglas had said the things he said over 15 years, and we had coffee and we talked about the firm and about what was coming next. She asked me what I was building toward now. What came after the 12 floors? I said I was not sure yet. That the building was ongoing. She said, "That is the right answer." "Why?" I said. "Because," she said, "the people who know exactly what they are building toward are the ones who stop when they get there. The people who understand that the building is the point, they never stop." I looked at my mother. At 68 years old she is still the most precise person I know. "Where did you get that?" I said. She smiled. "From watching you," she said. "For 42 years. I think about the name on the glass door sometimes. Not often. I pass it every morning and most mornings it is simply the name on the door, the specific, unremarkable evidence of where I work and what I built. The ordinary made ordinary by repetition. But sometimes I pass it and I think about the 9-year-old in Grand Junction who told her mother she was going to build something and was told by the man in their house that college was not for everyone. I think about what that 9-year-old understood that the man did not. She understood that what she was did not require his permission to be real. That his doubt was information about him and not about her. That the building she was going to do was going to happen regardless of what he could or could not see. She was right. She built it. Her name is on the glass. And every morning when I walk through that door I am walking through the evidence that she was right all along. Before you go I want to ask you something. Have you ever been told you would not amount to anything by someone who was supposed to be in your corner? Have you ever carried a specific voice, a specific, repeated, confident voice of doubt, and chosen to build anyway? And have you ever had the specific, quiet satisfaction of watching that voice revise itself in front of the evidence you spent years building? Drop the word glass in the comments if this story reached something real in you. Glass for the door. Glass for the name. Glass for everything you are building that the doubters cannot yet see through. And if you are new here, subscribe. Every single day I share a new story about family, about building, about the people who were told no and built yes anyway. I will see you in the next one. Kayla's Dark Truth.